Hello and welcome back to the Good Ones podcast. I heard that that's called a hook. So hopefully that hooks you in to stay the rest of the episode. Welcome back. We are on day 3. I am so excited to be here every day. Today we're reading chapter 8 out of Genesis. We're reading 8, 9, 10, and 11. So I hope that you stick through for the whole thing with me so we can talk more about what happened at the beginning of the world and beginning of time that we have recorded according to the Bible. I honestly have been really enjoying this experience. I'm only on day 3 and I am a mom on winter break from work. So when I go back to work, it could be a totally different thing. But I just in 3 days already feel more motivated to get up, more motivated to do my hair, to open up the Bible. So I'm looking forward to see the transformation that takes place this year with this podcast. All right, let's go ahead and get your Bibles ready. Open up to Genesis chapter 8. If you don't have a Bible with you and you're listening in your car, thank you for listening. If you're like, who is she talking to? Because there's only 8 people watching this. That's okay. I'm talking to the 8 of you. All right, let's get started. The flood subsides. Yep, that's right. Where we left off, there had been a flood. Noah's family was on the ark with 2 of every kind of animal. And now we're going to see what happens when the flood waters go away. But God remembered Noah and all the beasts and all the livestock that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind blow over the earth, and the waters subsided. I'm going to pause because I'm now realizing I want to give you the opportunity to worship beforehand, to pray beforehand, to pause the video here if maybe you forgot to take the opportunity to pray. But again, just like always, I don't want you to just, listen to me because you know me. I want you to listen because this is the word of God and because hopefully you can learn something new from it. And we always get something new. Every time I read it, I feel like I pull different information out of it or something different stands out to me. And I like to thank the Holy Spirit for that. But so hopefully that can happen for you. Okay, now we're on verse 2. The fountains of the deep and the windows of the heavens were closed. The rain from the heavens was restrained, and the waters receded from the earth continually. At the end of 150 days, the water had abated. And in the 7th month of the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Wow, that's probably not how you say that at all. And the waters continued to abate until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. At the end of 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made and sent forth a raven. It went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. Then he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters had subsided from the face of the ground. But the dove found no place to set her foot, and she returned to him to the ark, for the waters were still on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand and took her and brought her into the ark with him. He waited another 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came back to him in the evening, and behold, in her mouth was a freshly plucked olive leaf. So Noah knew that the waters had subsided from the earth. Then he waited another 7 days, and sent forth the dove, and she did not return to him any more. I'm going to guess probably she found a place to land and was like, I am done with this back and forth and the ark. But I find it interesting that the first leaf that was plucked was an olive leaf. Because I hear olive leaves a lot in Bible stories, and I honestly know that, since we're reading the whole Bible this year, that we'll be able to hear it more, and I'll be able to know the significance of an olive leaf, because I really don't know the significance of like olive and olive leaves. Maybe it was just around a lot. If you know, and you can let me know, that would be great. Okay. In the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, the waters were dried from off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. In the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth had dried out. Then God said to Noah, Go out from the ark, you and your wife, and your sons wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you of all flesh, birds and animals, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may swarm on the earth, and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creeping thing, and every bird, everything that moves on the earth went out by families from the ark. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and took some of every clean animal and some of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And when the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of man, for the intention of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I ever again strike down every living creature as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground, and all the fish of the sea. Into your hands they are delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. Here it is. This is chapter 9 already. We're on verse 3. And here's when it starts talking about being able to eat not just plants. Because remember in Genesis chapter 1, he says the plants and the trees are food for you. Now he's saying everything that lives shall be food for you. So if you're wondering if you had to stay a vegetarian, fear not. You can eat meat. And also this is the old covenant and we're in the new covenant. There's other reasons why you can eat meat, but just for this purpose alone, God said it's okay. And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything, but you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is its blood. And for your lifeblood, I will require a reckoning. From every beast, I will require it, and from man. From his fellow man, I will require a reckoning for the life of man. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. For God made man in his own image. It's interesting. I feel like this is God saying that, if you kill someone, then somebody else can kill you. So like the death penalty, would that equate to that? Does that mean that the death penalty is okay? All right. Verse 7. And you be fruitful and multiply, increase greatly on the earth and multiply in it. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, Behold, I establish my covenant with you and your offspring after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and every beast of the earth with you. As many as came out of the ark is for every beast of the earth. I establish my covenant with you that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you. For all future generations, I have set my bow in the cloud, and I shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. Okay, just real quick, not gonna lie, when I read bow the first time, I was like an archery bow? And then the more that I read it, it clicked. I was like, rainbow. Okay, I get it now. I get it. Rainbow. It comes after the rain, and God refers to it as a bow. Never heard it called just that, or maybe that's just me, but I understand now. Okay, so the rainbow is there to remind us that God will not flood the earth and destroy all of us in that way. So that's an awesome reminder when you look up and see one of those. Don't just think about the science behind it, but remember the covenant that God made with Noah and all of us. Okay, talking about Noah's descendants now. Anytime that I read the word descendants in the Bible, it's like I get a little bit anxious because I'm like, oh no, there's a lot of names there, and I hope that I can say them all correctly. So Noah's descendants. Watch there be like no names in this one. That's okay. The sons of Noah who went forth from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. Oh, I just want to point out, I'm going to pause there. So if you've ever seen Noah, the movie, I'm like, that's the story of Noah that I have because I haven't finished reading the story of Noah. I'm reading it here with you guys. So if you haven't seen Noah, the movie, that movie is like wild. And there are things in there that happen in the movie that definitely are not in the Bible, but for somebody who wasn't Christian watching it and then watched it again as a Christian without reading the book of Genesis, I was like, wow, that's wild that that's how everything went down. So I took it as like they had biblical backing for the movie, but I think that they took a lot of creative liberties with it. But which I feel like a lot of people probably know that already. But that was something that I was like, oh, this does not match that as much. And I heard there's a new movie too on Netflix called Mary, and that the movie Mary also does not really match what's in the Bible. So I will be skipping that one because I have read parts of the New Testament and the story of Mary. But I find it interesting that like these huge movies are made and they're not like biblically based, but they're based off a Bible story. I guess technically they are biblically based, but they're just not using like the facts that are in the Bible. So just a side note in there. And now we're back. Okay. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the people of the whole earth were dispersed. So according to the Bible, everyone came from the sons of Noah once the flood happened, which is, I know a lot of debate happens about like, okay, the whole people of the earth in this section, but I feel like this is not being figurative. This is being literal and saying that we all came from the sons of Noah. Noah began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and walked backwards and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backwards, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants shall he be to his brothers." He also said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant." After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. All the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. I wonder if Noah lived that long because he was already alive when God stated that people would not live longer than 120 years, because it's saying that Noah lived a total of 950. So he was probably one of the last people to live as long as he did. Also, I want to point out that Noah's reaction, like sometimes it gets to me here when it's saying that Noah woke up from being drunk and he was like super mad at his son and cursed his lands. But at the same time, it's like, I think it matters where your heart is. And I think it matters that Ham, when he saw that his brother was drunk, he like went to his brothers, or that his dad was drunk. He went to his brothers and he was like, "Hey, go look at him. Like, look what dad's doing. He's in there passed out." But his brothers were like, "No, we're not going to do that. Like, we're not going to embarrass our dad. We're not going to take advantage of him in a vulnerable situation." They put the blanket over their shoulders and they walked in backwards. They didn't even see their father in that state. So I think that just shows like the importance of why you're doing something. Like Ham went in there with the intention of, getting a laugh out of what his dad was doing. Probably. That's my assumption. But his brothers realized that, their dad was vulnerable then and didn't want to take advantage. So I think that's probably why Ham, even though we think about it nowadays and we're like, wow, what a simple like mistake. Or if you've ever seen your friend drunk and laughed, like you're like, I don't deserve to be cursed over that. But in actuality, it's like that is the sin and that is the evil that lives in humanity, that lives in people, because that's not how we should react in situations like that. We shouldn't strive to make fun of someone or laugh at them. We should strive to help people and to care for people and to treat them how we would want to be treated. In that moment, you probably wouldn't want to be laughed at and have other people come in and see you naked. You would want to be covered up. So it kind of goes back to where your heart is at. I think that's a very powerful story. All right, moving on. Chapter 10. Nations descend from Noah. These are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Sons were born to them after the flood. Sons were born. Were their daughters born? Question mark. The son of Japheth: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer. Okay, so this is just Gomer's kids next. Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan: Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dadanim. From these, the coastland peoples spread in their lands, each with his own language, by their clans in their nations. Okay, get ready, because chapter 10 is a lot of this. I thought it was going to happen in chapter 9, But now chapter 10 is, came out of nowhere. The sons of Ham: Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush: Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Rama, and Sabteka. This is just put here to make me feel bad about not being able to read the names. No, I'm just kidding. That's totally not why I believe this was put in the Bible, but this is challenging. The sons of Rama: Sheba and Dedan. Cush fathered Nimrod. He was the first on earth to be a mighty man. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore, it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From that land, he went into Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth-ir, Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and Calah. That is the great city. Egypt fathered Ludim and Nanmim, Lehabin, Nephtuhim, Pathrusim, Casaluhim, from whom the Philistines came, and Caphtorim. Pause. That was the end of a paragraph. There are so many names here. Let's keep pushing through. Verse 15. Canaan fathered Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Arkites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zemarites, lots of ites, and the Hamathites. Afterwards, the clans of the Canaanites dispersed, and the territory of the Canaanites extended from Sidon in the direction of Gerar as far as Gaza, and in the direction of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim as far as Lasha. These are the sons of Ham, by their clans, their languages, their lands, and their nations. To Shem also, the father of the children of Eber, the elder brother of Japheth, children were born. The sons of Shem: Elam, Ashur, Arpachshad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram: Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Thank you, Aram, for those names. I appreciate those. Arpachshad fathered Shelah, and Shelah fathered Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of the one was Peleg. For in his days the earth was divided, and his brother name was Joktan. Joktan fathered Almondad, Shelef, Hazaramavet, Jerah, Hadoran, Uzul, Dikla, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. The territory in which they lived extended from Mesha in the direction of Sephar to the hill country of the east. These are the sons of Shem, by their clans, their languages, their lands, and their nations. These are the clans of the sons of Noah, according to their genealogies in their nations, and from these nations spread abroad on the earth after the flood. Done with chapter 10. That was nice. Where did we start? 8, 9, 10, 11. We've got one left. I think that's important to know. And this is why, the Bible is full of history. It's not a science textbook. It's a history book, right? It has a lot of different, and it's also poetry, and it's also creative writing in some spots. But not in the sense that it's not telling the truth, but in the sense that there are a lot of figurative language and stuff that's used later on. We'll get there. But, maybe give yourself a pat on the back. Don't skip it, though, because these are verses in the Bible, and we are reading the whole Bible. Even if it's challenging, we push through. All right, the Tower of Babel, chapter 11. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. I find that interesting. Pause again, because this is saying the whole earth had one language, but in chapter 10, when it goes through the sons, it goes through each with his own language by their clans in their nations. So I'm curious, this is listing all of the nations that descended from Noah. So is chapter 11 taking place simultaneously with chapter 10? Is the Tower of Babel being built as these generations are descending from Noah? Can somebody answer that? That would be good. I'm probably going to Google that. Let me make myself a little note here. This is live action, baby, happening right as I'm reading. I'm going to write Google it in my Bible. And what am I Googling? Languages. Because I want to know. I like understanding things. I really don't want to read the Bible and just take it for face value and say, because it's written in there, it's Noah's family descended and they spoke different languages, but they spoke the same language for the sake of the Tower of Babel. No. What was the timeline here? When was it happening? How did it work out that they have their own languages in the nations that descended from Noah, but the Tower of Babel, they are all speaking one language? Did this happen beforehand and you're just giving me the nations as like a fact? Why is chapter 10 there instead of after 11? These are questions that I have. You should have similar questions, because we never want to just take something as what somebody tells us. We want to make sure that we can get information and be able to back up what's being said. Okay, Tower of Babel. The whole earth had one language. Yep. And the same words. That would make life a lot easier. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth." And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they purpose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech, till the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of all earth, and they left off the building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of the earth. That's why someone says you're babbling from the Tower of Babel. So if you didn't know that was like biblical, there you go. I think I'm going to go back and highlight verse 6, because I find it interesting that the Lord said, we're all one people, and if we can all speak the same language, then nothing will be impossible to us. Because today with Google Translate and the different ways that we can all really start to truly understand each other, I feel like that's where technology is headed. That even though we're not all speaking the same language, we're all going to be able to understand what one another is saying. Today, you can just open an app on your phone and understand someone else. So this is interesting when we make our way down to Revelation. I want to make sure that's something that I remember God is saying, and see if in the book of Revelation it has anything to do with us speaking the same language. Because I've never read the book of Revelation. It kind of freaks me out. So we're working our way there. All right, Shem's descendants. These are the generations of Shem. When Shem was 100 years old, he fathered Arpachshad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he fathered Arpachshad 500 years and had other sons and daughters. Oh, there we go, daughters. Nobody talks about anybody else's daughters, but Shem's daughters get an honorable mention. Thank you for that. When Arpachshad had lived 35 years, he fathered Shelah, and Arpachshad lived after he fathered Shelah 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah had lived 30 years, he fathered Eber, and Shelah lived after he fathered Eber 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber had lived 34 years, he fathered Peleg, and Eber lived after he fathered Peleg 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he fathered Reu, and Peleg lived after he fathered Reu 209 years and had other sons and daughters. When Reu had lived 32 years, he fathered Serug, and Reu lived after he fathered Serug 207 years and had other sons and daughters. When Serug had lived 30 years, he fathered Nahor, and Serug lived after he fathered Nahor 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor lived 29 years, he fathered Terah, and Nahor lived after he fathered Terah 119 years and had other sons and daughters. When Terah had lived 70 years, he fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Okay, I find this interesting for Shem's descendants. I'm just going to keep saying that. I find it interesting that this is happening here. Got a whole section highlighted because this we see the progression of age, right? Because God had said we're not living more than 120 years, but here we have generational progression where it goes from 403 years to the next person living like 200 years. Then from 200 years, we go down to 119 years, and now we're hitting that 120 limit. Also, the age of having children is going down. So we see that Shem had a baby when he was 100 years old. He fathered a baby, but now his last descendant mentioned fathered a child when he was 29. So I just see a progression of that. So it wasn't something that God did immediately and was like, and now you're capped off at 120 years. But it seems like it was something that happened over time. And maybe that's because, like, I would theorize that that's because of how our bodies were handling time differently then. Like, if you live to be 900 years old, you probably did not look at 102 then what you would look at 102 today. So this might be like the gradual progression in age. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but that sounds like a really good theory. So pat on the back again for me. Today's a good day. All right, Terah's descendants. Now these are the generations of Terah. So many generations. This is a very long time. So for whoever thinks that the world was founded like 6,000 years ago, go back in the Bible and do the math for me and tell me how long all of these generations add up. Because I feel like we've gone past, 2000 from the beginning to Jesus. This is a long time. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Okay. He fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran fathered Lot. Heard of Lot. Haran died in the presence of his father, Terah, in the land of his kindred and Ur of the Chaldeans. And Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife, Malka, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Iscah. Now Sarai was barren. She had no child. Terah took Abram, his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth together from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. The days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Woohoo! We have made it. 4 chapters today. Didn't take too long. Lots and lots of names. This is just going to grow my ability to hold conversation, my ability to read other books. That's what I'm taking that lesson as. There were some verses in there that really stood out to me today, and I'll be posting that later on TikTok, on Instagram. But if you have a verse that stood out to you, I would love it if you would comment below. What did you get from this? Are there any improvements that I can make? I am always open to constructive criticism. If you notice that the lighting changed and you're watching this on YouTube, I apologize. I did have a friend opening and closing the curtains, but it's totally okay. Not a big deal. Because if you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts, you had no idea what's happening. So anyways, I will see you guys again tomorrow for another journey through a year in the Bible. I'm so excited to keep reading, to keep learning, to keep growing. And if you've never heard the story of Abram and Sarai, it's a really good one. So please join me again tomorrow to hear what happens between Abram, Sarai, Canaan, lots of new characters being introduced, historical figures. All right, I'll see you guys again tomorrow.